Welcome. This is my video presentation screen background. This I will show you the standard operating procedures of administration, operation, and investigation in at least one branch of law enforcement services. But I make it two branches of law enforcement services. First, I will open my camera. There you are. So let's start. I have one branch of law enforcement services, which the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, in short BGMP, having the standard operating procedures of administration, operation, and investigation. It has table of contents, which are: first, purpose; second, scope; 3, objectives; 4, responsibilities; 5, definition; 6, classification of contraband and physical evidence; 7, preventive measures against contraband entry and keeping; 8, confiscation procedure; 9, disposal procedure; 10, physical evidence; 11, documentation requirements; 12, references; 13, repealing; and last, not the least, effectivity. So we go on to the purpose. The purpose of the BGMP administration is that this policy prescribes the standards for the prevention of entry, use, the movement of contraband within the jail premises, protect the public, employees, and inmates. 2, we have also a scope, which is the all contraband shall be confiscated, to include but not limited to items possessed by inmates, items intercepted by staff during an attempt to smuggle them into the facility, or items found in cells and work area. 3, objectives. The objectives of the BGMP administration here is to classify contraband and evidence according to their operational implication. Second, to establish appropriate procedures in the confiscation of contraband for the safety of the public, employees, and inmates. And the last, to establish a mechanism in the handling and disposal of contraband and physical evidence. So this is the BGMP responsibilities, which acknowledged by the warden or our jail officers in BGMP. So we have first, the warden shall ensure the implementation of this policy to include the provision for safekeeping, storage, and disposal means of contraband and physical evidence. Second, the jail security unit shall develop implementing plan complementary to the off-plan Greyhound, particularly adaptable to individual setup and peculiarities. 3, the contraband custodian, who may also act as the property custodian, shall take care of all the contraband confiscated and turned over to him or her for safekeeping, to include valuable properties of inmates. Then 4, the evidence custodian, who may be one of those assigned in the investigation unit of the jail, shall take care of the physical evidence which is connected with alleged criminal acts and must therefore be treated and stored separately from other contraband. So this is the responsibility of our warden, our jail officer inside the jail or in the prison. So we have also a definition, like contraband and physical evidence. We have 2. Contraband, that means anything prohibited by law and or forbidden by jail rules that would pose a security hazard or endanger the lives of inmates. 2. Physical evidence, which means items with evidentiary value used in an administrative disciplinary proceeding or court proceeding. So this is one the definition of the BJMP administration inside the standard operating procedure. So additional knowledge in our criminology reviewer too. So 5, we have classification of contraband and physical evidence that determined by the BJMP, which having a categories of contraband as follows. So first, we have classification of contraband having weapons, potential weapons, drugs, drug paraphernalia, alcohol, and tobacco products, money or other commodities of exchange such as jewelry. Have also classified appliances and gadgets, wearing apparels and sleeping paraphernalia, and 6 other miscellaneous property. 7. Preventive measures against contraband entry and keeping. So this is the one of the tactic and technique strategy of the BGMP, which acknowledge inside the jail management and penology is to have a search baggage, parcels, purses, and similar items brought into the facility. All areas accessible to inmates shall be thoroughly searched on a random and periodic basis at least once every quarter. Sniffing dogs will be used on periodic basis in coordination with government canine holders. Inmates who have gone out of the jail shall be searched upon return to the facility. Monitor on a periodic and frequent basis the telephone and written communication of inmates, paying particular attention to a discussion of contraband, smuggling, and other matters that would have implication of jail security. The last, written permit and consent for product of body search. This is the one of the implementing rules to prevent measures against the contraband entry and keeping. So 8, they conduct a confiscation procedure to inside the BJMP administration for the inmates. Care will be taken to minimize the probability of employees and inmates from incurring inquiry during confiscation of contraband by ensuring the following. Plan search every week. Set adequate employee backup. If an inmate is alone, he shall be ordered to relinquish the item and to step away. If the inmate shows sign of resistance to the confiscation of the contraband to the personnel during the confiscation, that immediately call for employee backup. Jail personnel shall not engage in a physical struggle with the inmate to retrieve contraband, especially when he perceives there is a danger of violence, unless the incident involves a planned use of force with adequate backup. 6. If unable to retrieve the contraband from the inmate, apply normal preventive measures, conduct urinalysis if the item ingested is a substance, and raise a misconduct issue against the inmate deemed appropriate. So we have here disposal procedure that acknowledged by our jail officers. disposal procedure. For the one, only the warden may approve the disposal of contraband after an inmate has exhausted the inmate grievance process of the disciplinary appeal process. Disposal will take 30 calendar days after the final resolution. Disposal of any property of value that was seized from a person other than an inmate will require approval by forfeiture petition from the court. Then last, the warden will notify the regional legal office upon the seizure of contraband from a non-inmate, at which time the legal office may file a forfeiture petition. Five, property seized from inmates and not subject to court proceedings shall be disposed as follow. We have here weapons. So, having a contents of confiscated firearms unless turned over to another law enforcement agency to be used as evidence will be given to the warden through the chief of the investigation unit for legal disposal. B. Other contraband usable as weapons will be inoperable and properly disposed of. Unique of weapons be salvaged and used for educational purposes. D. Keeping of these items requires the written approval of the warden as to location of storage and purpose. E. An inventory of these items will be maintained. So B, we have here drug paraphernalia, alcohol and tobacco products as classified, but it actually used as contraband inside the jail. One, having a content of A. Methamphetamine, hydrochloride, shabu, marijuana capsules, powders, liquids, drug paraphernalia, and all items classified under the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, as we known as the Public Act 9165, including raw materials, products, and equipment of any kind that are intended for use in manufacturing, compounding, processing, or delivering any controlled dangerous substance will be properly labeled and accounted for. B. Intoxication, liquors, cigarettes, and other products that are considered vices are strictly prohibited too. So next, we have money or other commodities of exchange that confiscated by our jail officers with having a content of A, B, C, D, that we first go on to no inmate shall be allowed to have in his or her possession money and jewelry. Money and jewelry shall be confiscated and duly turned over to the property custodian for receipting and eventual safekeeping in a safety vault or box. C. In case an inmate wants to buy goods from the jail operative, which shall be located outside the jail premises, deduction from this deposited money may be effected through a written agreement duly signed with the conformity of the inmate, the co-manager, and the property custodian. The inmate, cooperative manager, and the property custodian must affix their signatures to ensure the transparency of the transaction. D. Upon release, an inmate may claim his money and jewelry from the property custodian. This is the proper way to conduct rules and regulation inside the administration of the JNP. Oh, we have also E, F, G, and H. So in E, in case of death, the person he designated on the designation for disposition of property form CS form 02, which she has filled up during her reception, will be provided a written inventory of her money and other belongings held at the facility in person or by registered mail. F. If money is not claimed within 1 year, it will be transferred to the inmate's welfare and recreation fund. Unclaimed property shall be disposed of within 60 calendar days. If the inmates escape, his or her properties will be frozen after 60 calendar days. The property shall be disposed of and proceed of, which will go to the inmates' welfare and recreation fund. D. Appliances and gadgets having a contents of letter A. Appliances with altered markings are not to remain in the facility. If the owner could be identified, he will be required to dispose of the item. B. Under no circumstances will an item except funds and confiscated clothing be given to an inmate other than the original owner. C. Confiscated funds proven to be contraband and for which the true owner is unidentifiable will be marked by a unique facility identification number and may be issued to indigent inmates for use while assigned to the facility prior to transfer of. When no longer needed, the inmate will return the fund to the property custodian. D. Cell phones and accompanying kit shall be turned over to the inmate's relatives or confidant by the property custodian with the owner inmate, affixing her signature in conformity, the receiving party in acknowledgement of receipt, and a witness to the transaction. So E, we have wearing apparel and sleeping paraphernalia. No inmate shall be allowed to possess items beyond the maximum allowed quantity prescribed in the attached table for allowable property for inmates. B, we have here the with approval of the warden. So it need an approval of the warden to the inmates not having personally owned clothing may receive a set of confiscated clothing upon discharge. F, we have also other miscellaneous property. Letter A. Other contraband belong to an inmate may appropriately disposed of by the inmate by either sending it home or having a visitor pick it up. B. Contraband determined by the facility heard to be a threat to the safety or security of the facility or that serve to promote vices like gambling may be destroyed. C. The item will be destroyed if the rightful owner cannot be determined. D. The contraband will only be destroyed by authorized staff. E. Contraband may be submitted for public auction by the warden if the inmates failed to dispose of his own excess or unauthorized property within 30 calendar days from the time she was admitted in jail. Monies earned will be deposited in the inmate staff welfare and creation fund. F. Employees will not be allowed to purchase said property. Unusual items may be retained for training purposes with approval of the warden. So we have here physical evidence. Obtaining physical evidence, any evidence connected with an alleged criminal act will be handled as follows. We have here criminal we have obtaining physical evidence here which connected with an alleged criminal act, handled as follows. First, the evidence will be identified by contraband evidence tag CS Form 03 attached. Evidence with hard surface such knife, stickers, gun, and etc. will be tagged on the handle or butt area. The person originally obtaining the evidence will write his initial or an identifying number in an unobtrusive area for future identification. 3. Drugs or pharmaceuticals that may be used as a court exhibit will be submitted for laboratory analysis. Evidence prone to contamination will be appropriately bagged to preserve it. B. Storage of physical evidence. It has storage of physical evidence. First, the jail investigation unit will ensure proper security in the storage of evidence. Second, physical evidence will not be stored with contraband. It will be stored in a metal, fireproof storage locker and may be transferred to the agency investigating the incident. C. We have here the chain of custody sub poena, which the contents are each person removing evidence from the storage container or possessing evidence at any time will maintain the possession chain of custody, complete the chain of custody form CS Form 04 attached, and will be subject to a subpoena to testify in court regarding the possession of that evidence. D. So, we have here submission of physical evidence for laboratory analysis. The procedures for submitting physical evidence for laboratory analysis will be as follows. We have here first each transfer of the evidence will be indicated on the private evidence tag listing as to whom the evidence was released and purpose of the transfer. Only the amount of the item or substance needed for analysis will be submitted. The remainder of the item or substance will be maintained in storage. A new chain of custody will be maintained on the analysis sample. 3. Any item or substance returned from an authorized laboratory will be placed back in the evidence storage in conformity with procedures in maintaining the chain of custody. So this is the contents in submission of physical evidence for laboratory analysis. So in submission of physical evidence for purpose of court, what does mean? That means that any time after the filing of a criminal charge, the warden may be required to present the physical evidence. The surrender of evidence will be noted in the logbook, and the possession chain will cease unless the evidence is returned by the court having jurisdiction. So we have here the disposition of physical evidence. What does it mean? It means that physical evidence shall be disposed of after conclusion of any legal proceedings. Videotapes used as evidence of an incident will be kept for 3 years after the incident has been resolved prior to disposal or erasure for reuse. In the event an item exhibited in court is returned to the facility after final adjudication, it shall be maintained in storage for a minimum of 6 months from the date of return. After the time frame has elapsed, the item will be submitted to the court having jurisdiction for proper disposal. If the sheriff's department chooses not to accept the items, the warden shall dispose of the evidence. So 10, we have here documentation requirements. So letter A, having a contraband evidence tags which are the contents is controlling reference number, number of items tag, description of items with any identifying marks, location where items was seized, nature of crime, reason for seizure, date and time was seized, name of person who seized item, personal and criminal circumstances of the person, inmate, from whom item was seized. If other the inmates and other information, witnesses, printed name and signature of officer completing the tab. Then last, a record of the chain of custody to document each person handling the items. So this is the following information will be recorded on the contraband evidence which attached in CS Form 03. So as any staff member who discovers these are the 12 items that they considered as the contraband evidence tag. So letter B, it has also contraband evidence log. What are those? Contraband and evidence log will contain the following information. 1. Originally logging requirements. It has contents also about control log reference number, number of items tag, description of items including brand and model numbers and any other identifying marks, location where items was seized, nature of crime, reason for seizure, date and time items was seized, name of person who seized item, identification of person from whom item was seized, date, time, and signature of contraband evidence custodian receiving the items. 2. We have also a removal of items that implement by the BJMP administration. Anytime an item is removed from the evidence or contraband area, an entry will be made next to the original entry with the person's name removing the item indicated, purpose of removal and date and time removed and returned. There is another one, letter B. When the items is finally disposed of, an entry will be made next to the original entry indicating the date and time of removal, method of destruction, and name of person destroying the item. The contraband evidence tag will be filed and maintained by the contraband evidence custodian. So number 3, log storage and auditing requirements. C. Jails will maintain separate contraband and evidence logs. D. Evidence log will be stored inside evidence containers. Letter E. The warden will ensure that an audit of the evidence log and contraband log is conducted at least quarterly. The audit will be conducted by someone other than the contraband evidence custodian. All entries made in the log will be reviewed since the previous audit. So we have here the references in standard operating procedure in BJMP administration. First, we have BJMP manual. Second, BJMP operation manual. Third, the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, which are the Republic Act 9165. Then 4, the Revised Penal Code of the Philippines. And the last one, but not the least, is the Rules on Evidence. Repealing in BJMP administration, which the standard operating procedure is that all circulars or issuance which are inconsistent with this directive and hereby rescinded or modified accordingly. Then last, effectivity. This policy shall take effect immediately upon approval of the Chief BJMP. So it need the approval of the Chief BJMP to conduct this standard operating procedure in BJMP administration. So we go on to the operation and investigation of the BJMP. So they have here an samples of operation and investigation, which first the jail provincial administration office, district jail, and city and municipal jails. They have operation to be conduct. And next, and having a major programs, which having a major programs to conduct an operation and investigation to, which are the contents is that inmates custody security and control program, inmates welfare and development program, third decongestion program, for good governance. These are the four major program under the mandate of PGMP, which acknowledge and implement inside the jail management and penology. So we have here a section 3, section 63 of Republic Act number 6975 is hereby amended to read as follow. Is establishing of the provincial, sub-provincial, and district or municipal jail to conduct an something like that, any kind of operation and investigation. So here the conduct of the initial investigation of the DJMP by the RIPD, which involving the personnel. So in conduct of initial investigation by the RIPD involving personnel holding the rank of Jail Officer 1 to Senior Jail Officer 4 assigned the region, the JR duly approved by the Assistant Regional Director for Administration (ARDA) shall not be the subject of summary evaluation by the DIP unless tainted with irregularities as determined by DIP upon the receipt of the copy of IR. If the RIPD find prima facie evidence to warrant the filing of a formal charge, the Regional Bureau of Prosecutor shall immediately cause the preparation and filing thereof before the Regional Hearing Office. So in conducting, so this are the some procedure of the BJMP, like initial investigation of RIPD involving personnel holding rank of inspector to jail superintendent assigned in the region. The IR duly approved by the ARDA shall transmitted by the regional director to the NHQ for the summary evaluation of the DIP as such separately IR. Therefore, for jail commission officers, JCOs, shall be forwarded separately in order not to delay the filing of formal charge against jail non-commissioned officer or JNCOs, JNCOC, OS, in cases where they jointly subject of initial investigation for a particular offense. In instances, however, where personnel have been found positive for use of illegal drugs, after confirmatory tests, a formal charge shall be immediately filed before the regional hearing offices in case involving JNCOs. IR for JCOs found positive use of illegal drugs after confirmatory tests shall be immediately forwarded to the DIP for immediate summary evaluation and thereafter cause the filing of the formal charge before the National Hearing Office without delay. So, we have finished the first law enforcement services, their standard operating procedure of administration and operation investigation. So, let's go on now to the Philippine National Police Highway Patrol Group, or as known as PNP-HPG. PNP-HPG, we showing the standard operating procedures of administration, operation, and investigation. So I have two law enforcement services that I that I show and share in front of this video presentation. So let's move on to Philippine National Police Highway Patrol Group. So PNP HPG Standard Operating Procedure Administration having also oversee the implementation of the Patrol Plan 2030, Peace and Order, Agenda for Transformation and Upholding of the Rule of Law. Second, integrate all strategy management processes, sustaining strategy, execution and management, and instilling a culture of strategic focus. Then next, identify and recommended key priorities and strategic issues to the HPG. Align strategic and manage execution. Cascade the PNP Patrol Plan 2030 and agency scorecard. Develop a comprehensive communication plan and education process. So this is the part of the short standard operating procedure of the PNP HPG. So we go on now next page. Establish and facilitate the process of identifying, documenting, and sharing lesson learned and best practices. Oversee the review, evaluation, and validation and timely reporting in collaboration with the TWG and AC. Establish a monitoring and accountability mechanism and performs other duties as directed by the Director HPG. Actually, the group of the Philippine National enforce the traffic laws and regulation, promote safety consciousness through interagency cooperation concerning police traffic safety education and traffic law enforcement function, and develops reforms in the crime prevention aspect. Agency will against all forms of lawlessness committed along national highway involving the use of motor vehicle. So B, we have a PNP Highway Patrol Group operation having Special Operational Division and Operational Management Division. So we go on to the Special Operation Division having their enforce traffic law, conduct investigation, and enforce visitorial power in consonance in PD 1612 and in relation to 6539 and PD 532 to conduct motorized patrol and spearhead operation against kidnapping, hijacking, highway robbery, and other forms of criminality along the highway. Next, maintain database for wanted motor vehicle information system, WVIS, and issue MV clearance pursuant to RA 6539 and PD 532. We have also here enforced deputation orders pertaining to the acquisition and use of motor vehicle along the highways, entry and exit, between inter-island travel, and formulate and conduct aggressive road safety education programs and related projects and activities involving the use of motor vehicles. So we have next the Operational Management Division, which are the contents of the plan: direct, control, supervise, and coordinate HPG operations, integrate and coordinate support activities, prepare, coordinate, and issue operational plans, order, and directives in accordance with the policies and guidelines of the Director HPG. Next, maintain an active liaison with other operating units of the PNP and other law enforcement agencies. Perform other tasks as directed by the Director HPG. C. We have here the investigation. Investigation division having the content of plan, direct, control, supervise, and lateral coordination with allied partners. So they have a difference. No? Integrate and support command activities. That's right. Prepare communication for the director and issues communication to regional HPG. Maintain an active listening with the DIDM and other allied agency. Allied agency which the government agencies. Here in the Philippines, monitor direction and control of the administrative, criminal, and civil cases filed by the HPG. Something they like conducting and checkpoint. No? Perform other function as the direction HPG may direct. So this is the end of sliding show, my screenplay. So